toxic masculinity.
Columbia University to hold six segregated graduation ceremonies.
Segregated.
Segregated. It's a segregated.
Well, I wrote that wrong. Is the
Okay,
problem.
one more time. I will read the article title. Columbia University will hold six graduation ceremonies according to students' race and chosen identities.
That's right. That's right. So Columbia University has been doing this for a while, where they have like a black graduation ceremony segregated from the white
Why?
ceremony. Because they're morons.
That's like back in 1960 or
Yes. Yes. Well, the reason is because black people, I guess, didn't want to be in the same ceremony or something like that. They felt like white people didn't deserve to be in the black ceremony or something, so they had their own, and they're just like,
okay.
okay, so if the white people demand that the black people have their own separate ceremony, that's racism. But if the black people demand to have their own ceremony, well, that's just great. That's just wonderful. But, and I didn't actually even want to bring this story up, but I did for one very specific reason. But I'm going to read through this here. So, Columbia University is planning to hold 6 additional graduations. This is insane, by the way. Ceremonies for students according to their race and other aspects of how they identify. The New York City Schools website details graduation ceremonies for Native, Asian, Latinx, and Black students taking place for Columbia College, Columbia Engineering, General Studies, and Barnard College at the end of April. Another dubbed FLI graduation was for first generation and or low income community. Good God. They have they have a separate graduation ceremony just for poor people? I'm sorry. Yes, you poor people, you don't really want to graduate with the other folks, do you? No, you want your own ceremony. Yeah. We'll make another ceremony for you. We'll call it the poor kid ceremony, and we'll have it over here.
The poor kids as bright as smart as white kids.
That's right. That's right.
That's true. That's what Biden
My
said.
God, they have a ceremony for the poor people. They're separating out the rest of the students and the poor people. That's unbelievable. First generation and or low income community. I'm guessing first generation means immigrants. So they're like, that's even worse. So immigrants and poor people, their own ceremony together. They're together. It's like, oh my God, it's literally like a white supremacist dream. This is the most amazing. I'm so glad I went with this story, because I was actually not going to, but that is the funniest thing. I didn't even realize that. Okay. Whew. Okay, the school also hosts a lavender graduation. I am so sorry. This is so unprofessional. A lavender graduation ceremony? Okay. For the LGBTIAQ plus community. Good God. I only think there's like 6 letters left in the alphabet. And they're calling it why don't they just call it the limp wrist ceremony? Hey guys, I know you guys are a little different than the rest of the students, so we're gonna have another ceremony. We're gonna call it the limp wrist ceremony. The lavender ceremony? Oh my God.
Aren't you want all people feel the same, like together?
Yes, that's
like
America.
Society.
That's
You guys
idea.
are all normal. Immigrants, poor, LGBTQ plus XYZ. You want to be with the rest of the people, so you will think you are all.
By the way, I am genuinely
Normal.
laughing. I'm not like putting this on for the show. Valeria can tell you, I would be laughing this loud just reading it by myself. She'd be like, "Why are you laughing so much?" All right, due to coronavirus restrictions, the ceremonies will take place online. Well, then what this is completely insane. It's unclear when the separate ceremonies were announced. But Sunday was the deadline for nominating individuals in Columbia College, Columbia Engineering, blah 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 blah. Who cares? Columbia, we didn't respond to Fox News. Okay, all right. So I'm not gonna read the rest of this crap. Look, here's why I wanted to talk about this particular story. What the hell are we doing? What the hell are we doing?
Going backwards.
Yeah, we're going backwards. We're separating everybody out by their some kind of weird demographic characteristics, and we're saying, I'm sorry that you can't sit with us. You've got to have your own thing that you're doing. And by the way, I want to see the white ceremony only. I want to see the white only ceremony that black people aren't allowed to get into. It's going to be straight and white. I want to see that at Columbia. Because if they're doing all this other crap, then that's only fair, right? But of course, they would never do that because that would be racist. That would be bigoted against sexual preference. You know, I mean, this is just so unbelievably stupid. Are they going to then bifurcate these racial groups by gender as well? You're going to have the white male and the white female, the black man. I mean, come on. How many groups are we going to do here? This is just getting stupider and stupider. Now, but here's why I want to bring it up. So there's often been this idea amongst white supremacists and white nationalists that you could create like a fund to send people back to Africa, like black people back to Africa who wanted to go, and then you would just pay for them, right? Which I actually think is perfectly fine idea. I don't actually have a problem with that. It's one of the few things with white supremacists I don't go, that's terrible. And I do actually say it just like that when I hear certain things that white supremacists say. But that one I'm like, yeah, fine. If you want to create a fund for black people, just, because they don't want to be here and you don't want them here, obviously. So I think that's perfectly fine. But then I read about a place called Liberia. Now, I've told you about Liberia, but I haven't told them about Liberia. So we did once, and so the reason I mentioned Liberia is because this whole idea of separating people out, right? Like giving black people, because where does this go? What is the ultimate conclusion of this? Well, black people have their portion of America, and then gays have their portion of America, presumably San Francisco, and the Hispanic people have their portion of America, and how far does this go until we have segregation again in America and we have everybody with their own sort of like individual? I mean, it's just getting stupider and stupider. We have to encourage integration, not segregation. That's what we have to encourage. Because once you segregate people enough, not every group's going to survive. We work better together in America, taking the best of everybody, than we do separating people out and letting them just like fend for themselves. Because so Liberia is a country, and it's amazing to me that nobody knows about this. But the reason nobody knows about this is because if people knew about it, I think people suspect that if people knew about it, it would make them respect black people less. Which maybe it would actually. I don't know. This is one of the few things where I think, well, maybe it is good people don't know about this. But I'm going to tell you about it anyway. So Liberia was this country that was established by the United States to send former slaves after the Civil War. So after the Civil War and the slaves were emancipated, they tried to figure out ways of sort of amending the damage, right? They had this idea of reparations with what was it, like 12 acres and a mule, or 20 acres and a mule, or a certain number of acres and a mule they were going to give to every black person that was a slave. That didn't work out. The Democrats stopped them from doing that. So then they established this country, Liberia, and they said any black person who wants to move back to Africa, who was enslaved here in America, they can move back to Liberia. And this is a country that we've established for you. You can move back. We'll give you a farm in Liberia, in Africa. And they went, great. So some black slaves took them up on this and moved to Liberia. And what did they do when they got to Liberia? They immediately enslaved the local population. And to this day, there is basically civil strife. People fighting each other, different tribes fighting each other. People hate each other in Liberia. And it is devolved into hell on earth. There is no place worse on this planet that I've ever seen than Liberia. If you want to see true depravity, the true dregs of the world, the kind of dystopian nightmare that you only read about in science fiction novels, watch a documentary on Liberia. It is astonishing. There is rampant drug use. Prostitution, I think, is like one of the primary occupations for women in Liberia. Everybody's on crazy kinds of drugs, heroin, cocaine, whatever, and they cannibalism is normal there. Cannibalism, eating human flesh, is like normal for people. They don't do it like for lunch, but most of the population has eaten human flesh at some point in their lifetime in Liberia. That's how depraved that country is. It was one of the biggest failures in the history of the world of any attempt at creating any kind of country or anything. You guys look up Liberia. It is shocking. It's shocking. But that came from just saying, look, you can separate yourself. If you don't want to be part of this community here that we have in America that obviously works very well, you can go do your own thing. These little experiments, they don't always turn out well. Sometimes they turn into dystopian nightmares. And so it's better that we all kind of just work together and try to like figure out the best way forward. Just taking people out of the system and saying, okay, go do your own thing. That is not going to end well. That is not going to end well. Anyway, sorry about that. That got a little dark. But look up Liberia. If you wanted to get darker, look up a documentary on Liberia. It'll scare the crap out of you. All right.
Next.
Yeah, unless you have something to say about cannibalism. You sure? You sure? I know you're keenly interested in the practice of cannibalism. No?
No.
All right. Well, let's move on then.
Congressman wants to send troops at the capital to the border.
Yes, that's right. So, a congressman, I don't know who this is, has proposed Toxic Masculinity. Weekdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.